Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the M&A Mastermind Podcast, your go-to source for the latest industry trends and strategies to help you level up your M&A practice. I am your host, Nick Olsen, Managing Director of Cornerstone International Alliance. Here we bring in masterminds who are experienced, knowledgeable, and gracious enough to share how they have succeeded in the world of M&A. I'm really excited about today's guest. She hails all the way from Prince Edward Island in Atlantic Canada. She started her career as a chartered professional accountant with a focus on business valuations. She has since transitioned to mergers and acquisitions and is a partner with Confederation M&A in Prince Edward Island, Canada, which is also a member of Cornerstone International Alliance. Her father started his own crane service business, which is still run by the family today. I hear that she spends a lot of time in an ice rink watching her son play a lot of hockey, and then also puts in a lot of time at work. Please welcome my guest today, Trisha Mossey. Trisha, welcome.
Thanks, Nick. You did a little bit of digging there, I guess, on me.
I did. I got a little help
Yeah.
from one of your partners who shall not be named.
No, that's funny. Yeah, no, thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here. Great.
Yeah, I'm really excited to have you on here today. And so let's dive in. Today we're going to talk about, you guys are based in Canada, and you've been a partner of Cornerstones for 2 to 3 years, kind of in that range. Time flies when you're having a lot of fun, right? And so, there's some differences, right, from Canadian M&A to the U.S. to Europe, and other places in the world. And so really what I want to draw, on today is, what does the M&A landscape look like in Canada? Like, what should our listeners know about doing deals, or how you guys do deals in Canada? I imagine there's a lot of U.S. listeners here that, might be looking at buyers in Canada, or maybe they have a buy side that's looking to get into the Canadian market that, someone's looking to sell that maybe, someone like you guys would have as a client. And so, my objective today is just to help everyone understand and kind of lay the land of what mergers and acquisitions looks like in Canada, and just and hopefully talk about that, and kind of have those aha moments with our listeners, like, oh, maybe I should be looking for buyers in Canada, or vice versa. And because I think there's a lot of good opportunities. I know you hit on that in a minute, but I think there's a lot of great things happening by you guys. So first and foremost, tell us about Confederation M&A. Let us know all the details.
Yeah, sure. So, Confed M&A or Confederation M&A, we kind of spun out of a local accounting firm here in Prince Edward Island. And for for anybody that may not know about Prince Edward Island, PEI for short, we're a small island in Atlantic Canada. We're the smallest province in Canada, and so there's an accounting firm here in the capital city called Charlottetown that kind of saw, I think, what was going on in other parts of the world, and also in their own community, where M&A firms from other areas were coming in and doing deals here. And they kind of thought, geez, I think we should be playing in this realm a little bit, and launching kind of a division of their firm to help their clients was kind of their idea. And that was around 2008, 2009. And what's kind of spun out of a little idea out of a boardroom, I think, has turned into a company with about 8 advisors. And we're now across PEI, which we kind of consider our main hub, but we have offices as well in Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, and most recently in Ottawa and Ontario. So it's really grown over the years, and it's interesting. I've been with Confed M&A. I started in 2013, so I'm into my 10th year now, and it's incredible the growth we've seen from deal size to the staff, and just how the business has evolved from us kind of chasing business into the door to a lot of referral based business. And yeah, it's been a really fun journey, and we see the Canadian market. I know we'll get into it a little bit here, but we see a lot of growth potential, and I don't see the growth stopping anywhere here soon.
Mm-hmm. So kind of take us back to 2023, because I want to talk mostly about current state and future state. But overall, not only for your own firm, but for the Canadian market in general, like high level, what was 2023 like?
Yeah, for us, it was busy. It was our biggest year as far as deal volume. We closed 17 deals in 2023.
Oh,
Um,
congratulations.
yeah, it was great. Very exciting year for Confed M&A, and we're now kind of a full year into our Ottawa office, which is also exciting. And I think the Canadian market as a whole has just it's a busy market. There's a lot of deals at play, and it's a little bit maybe counter to what we're hearing from industry reports and even some other cornerstone firms at our last conference were saying that things may have a little bit slowed down from 2023 into 20.
Yeah, I would echo that because I was in that conference with you, and we had talked about a lot of deals being pushed back, from end of 23 into 2024, the first part of the year, and 17 deals. Wow, that's a great year, and I would say I would venture to guess, probably close to the top of, our all of our firms in CIA. So we'll find out as we're all kind of tabulating our end of year results right now, and but 17 is a big number, so congratulations on that. And so, shifting into 2024, I guess, what does the first quarter look like from your perspective as far as deal flow goes?
Yeah, it's good. We've got a couple in line here to close in the next couple weeks, and our pipeline of deals kind of, getting to the market, either in due diligence or getting to the market or kind of that early stage, which we call kind of the estimate value or pricing stage. It's been busy, and there's just I think we're ripe for a lot of transition in Canada, and we're really seeing that where people are starting to explore what's the value of my company? Am I at a position where I can retire? Is it going to give me enough money to retire? Or maybe I've been in this business for so many years and I'm looking to make a change and I'd like to evaluate where that would leave me and would I have enough money to get into my next venture or do something totally different? It's been a very interesting um, ride here in Canada lately, and just some stats on it. There was a report done, I think it was early 2023, and they are saying that 75 to 80% of Canadian small businesses will be looking to change hands in the next 10 years. And only, I think it was 10%, maybe even less than 10%, have an actual succession plan in place. So there's a lot of change going to happen in Canada. There's a lot of small businesses. A huge portion of our economy is made up in small business, and that fits well into our firm size where we're dealing with the lower to mid market. So we're expecting, I would say, all M&A firms and advisors across Canada will be very busy over the next 10 years.
Why do you think that is that a lot of these current business owners in the next 10 years are looking to exit? Like what's going on there that's causing them to look to sell their companies?
It's the mass age of baby boomers. It's
Hmm.
that age range that they all have businesses, and there's there's just so many small businesses. I think the stat in Canada is of businesses that employ Canadians, 98%, I think it is, are considered small business, which is like 1 to 99 employees. So it's significant, and what's you know what's going to be very important for a lot of those business owners is to look at their succession planning, probably even a couple of years out of when they're planning to hopefully sell their business. And if you see that 90 some percent don't have a plan in place, then that's a little bit of a scary situation. So we're working to educate and get lots of information out there to business owners on ways that they can prep themselves, ways they can increase the value of the company, and hopefully make it more saleable. So that's where we kind of see our part in this and trying to help people make their business more saleable.
Yeah, I was going to kind of hit on it. I was going to say, what are you guys doing? Maybe dive a little deeper there, Trisha. What are you guys doing to educate and help these business owners be ready for when they want to exit? Because it sounds like I think you said 10% of businesses right now have an exit plan, which in turn means 90% of them do not. And as we all know, the thing we try to avoid is a business owner wants to exit now, and maybe you do evaluation and they're not ready now, and you have to have that dreaded conversation of, well, you need another year or two to get your business to where you want it to be to make it, saleable to what you want to get out of it. I guess, what are you guys doing, to educate and help those business owners understand that?
Sure. Yeah, that's a great point. And to give an example, in a business I sold, our firm sold in 2023, the owners of that business actually approached me probably 2 or 3 years ago, and I had done a valuation for their company and an estimate of value pricing analysis for their company. And what they found in that is, okay, here's a few things we can tweak in our business to actually make it more in the price range where we would be happy to sell. And they did that. So we talked through a few areas that, here's what buyers are kind of looking for. They want a management team in place, for example, and they want to see less owner involvement or less reliance on the owners themselves, so that there's a team in place that can take care of things if you're not part of the business. And so they implemented some of these things, and that's just one area, but that's an example where their business, increased in value. They drove sales, they did all those things to help their business increase in value, and ultimately we found a great buyer for their company. So those are things we like to see. Some people may not want to give an M&A firm a call if they're not ready to sell, but it can actually be very educational, and it may even help somebody get the best price for their business, 2, 3, 5 years out if they make that approach early on.
Here's a question. Just kind of, if you as an M&A advisor, you're obviously, looking to sell, your client's company for you, or you are for them, I should say. Um, but as an M&A advisor, what is your pitch to clients that, aren't ready to sell, and, helping them understand, what they need to do, and then how you can work with them, because a lot of times, it's really hard to find, business owners ready to sell, businesses ready to sell, and we're here and we're going to sell this thing right now. That's very, very odd. Probably, the exception to the norm, right? So what is your pitch to business owners? I mean, I should say, what is your advice to advisors on how they can talk to these business owners, when they're not necessarily ready to sell?
I'd say here we've always taken kind of a little bit of a non-pushy approach with it, because um, when a business owner decides to sell, they'll be ready to sell when they want to, and we're happy to speak to a business owner early in the process and develop that relationship, because you really need to, as a business owner, you really need to trust the person that you're going to help is going to help you sell your business. So we're happy to kind of keep in touch throughout a couple of years and talk to them about their business. In that example I just gave, we updated their kind of pricing or estimate of value a couple times throughout those couple of years, just to kind of give them a better idea of where things stand. So it's things to help them make the decision process, because you, as an advisor, you don't want to get down the road and find a buyer and then have the seller say, oh, I'm not interested in selling now. You want to make sure that they're ready. So uh, there's there's no reason why we would rush somebody to market. Um, and the flip side to that is also true, that sometimes you'll see businesses that the owner has waited too long. And maybe they've taken the foot off the gas a little bit. They're getting tired. They're not really working on their business. And you might see sales start to kind of come down and profits start to come down. And that's a really tough place to be to sell your business. So you kind of want to hit that peak point where you see sales are moving up, profits going in the right direction. And that'd be the optimal place to be when you're trying to sell your company. But I really feel like you can't push somebody across that line. They really have to be there, and you have to develop that trust with them, that you're working on their behalf for their best interest, and that's really what we try to do here.
Now, when there's a business owner not ready to sell now, or they're, whether it's them or the business isn't ready to be sold, What kind of cadence do you guys follow to keep in touch with them, to keep them updated, kind of to make sure they're on track to meet where they need to be when they want to be there?
Yeah, sure. I think it's just little touch points with them. I'll check in with somebody. I can think of a situation where there was a couple changes happening in their business, some key personnel changes that they really needed to get back on track before they were ready to hit the market. So I touch base with this business owner probably every couple weeks or every month, just to see how they're doing. We're not that far out for going to market. If it was somebody that was a couple of years out, it probably wouldn't be that often, but we uh, we know we're going to be hitting the market soon as they get their staff situation kind of where they want it to be, and so every 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I'll just keep in touch through an email or a phone call just to make sure they know we're thinking of them, and if they need any help along the way, that we're here for that as well.
Yeah, yeah, very. Um, and so you talked about companies in, a couple of years away, but right now or in the last year and looking forward, are companies being sold and, are they being sold for good multiples that business owners are kind of accepting right now, or is it, kind of under what business, what you're seeing as far as value goes?
Yeah, great question. And I think, as everyone probably hates to hear this answer, is it would be it depends. But in a lot of cases, yes, we've seen some really strong multiples in business transactions. And what I would say we've seen a little bit of is maybe um, we may have seen a slight change from, say, 2, 3 years ago in that multiple, for certain industries where it's coming down a little bit, particularly with interest rates being up a little bit. So there's obviously a portion of cash flow that's going to be going to interest, a more significant portion of it than there used to be on kind of at 2, 3% interest rates. Um, but I would say the multiples are still strong. We haven't really seen anything that's been completely downsided by the market.
Hmm. Yeah. Right. So what about, so you mentioned interest rates and all that. What is the lending environment like right now in Canada? Is it obviously with interest rates it's impacted?
Yep. It's still good. It's still good. I think it may have slowed a little bit. There's probably some stronger due diligence being done
Mhm.
on all by all parties, be it the buyer, the banking, legal, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's still strong. We haven't experienced significant issues on the financing end.
All right, so are you saying are deals being um, taking longer because of the current lending state, or is it not affecting it that much?
I could say yes, some of the deals for sure have taken longer, um, just because maybe there's more last minute due diligence items popping up by the banks or their risk departments and that sort of thing.
Mhm.
But I don't think we've been in a situation where we've kind of got that far down the road and something has not transacted. It's just they're doing a little bit more checks and balances.
Right, right. And then what about the Canadian economy? Anything to note of there that's maybe impacting business sales or affecting deals right now?
Yeah. Great question again. I would say the biggest thing is probably just on the interest rates and making sure that cash flows can support the higher interest. I don't think there's any other issues. I guess one maybe bigger challenge here is challenge opportunity. I guess you could look at a particular business. Um, for example, if you look at the real estate market and certain residential units, you might see some challenges in that area. But um, otherwise, I would say interest rates is probably the bigger piece of it.
What are some hot industries right now that you're seeing? What are the ones that, as an M&A advisor, you're like, hey, I want to look for clients in that industry because businesses are selling.
Sure. Right now, we are seeing a lot in the construction world, and that probably piggybacks on my last comment about the housing boom, and we just have a real housing shortage, particularly where we are in Atlantic Canada. But I think that that trails pretty well across the nation. Um, so yeah, we're seeing a lot in construction. Um, we're seeing quite a bit in facility services as well. Healthcare is a big one. So it's kind of across the board, but it kind of mirrors to what we're seeing from the south side. We've had quite a bit in those industries, so it's good, and there seems to be some good activity going on.
Hmm. Well, let's go on the flip side of that. Any industries that are not doing so hot right now that
Mhm.
maybe be tough, maybe it might be a tougher sell right now.
I don't know if it's a change to right now, but I would say restaurants are typically tough.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely not just because it's right now. I think that's just a general statement.
Mm.
I'd say that's probably one you'd hear North America wide for sure.
Yeah. Right. 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 So now looking, Canada outward, what areas of the world are Canadian buyers looking at? Like I said, outside of their own borders.
Sure. We've had Canadian buyers looking to go into the US.
Mm.
We've had some looking at overseas as well. I would say we probably see it more the flip side, where we see more, say, U.S. private equity firms looking at Canadian companies. And I'm not certain exactly what drives that, but I think it may be something to do with the dollar. That they can buy a company here for 60% of the price is down there just
Mm.
for exchange rate, but that also converts with their when they take it back. So, but yeah, we are seeing an uptick in reach outs from U.S. private equity firms looking to buy in Canada.
So, from a Confederation M&A perspective, I know you can't speak for anybody else, but with that being said, understanding that there's more private equity, U.S. based private equity looking to get into the Canadian market. What are you guys doing from a tactical perspective to make sure that you are, having staying top of mind or having a presence, and being on their radar for the deals that you're representing the seller for?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And we've used some more kind of databases like Axial, for example, to reach different target buyers that maybe we wouldn't have on our radar. We found that to be a great system. We've actually sourced a couple good leads through there. And other than that, it's kind of getting our messaging out there. And I think even being part of a group like Cornerstone, where we have access to firms that are across the nation, and we submit our deals we're working on, and we're able to see that people have other deals in certain industries, and maybe they have good connections to buyers in other industries, and we try to use that as much as we can to help our clients find the best value for their business and the most kind of attention on it. And it's been kind of a great thing to have it in our pockets, to reach. I don't know how many we're at now, like 25 firms probably across the U.S. So it's just a great network to have.
Yeah, if you could, just quick example of how have you, when you're talking to a potential client or a client, how are you explaining, and leveraging the size of Cornerstone? Because especially if they are looking at getting into the U.S., obviously you have a lot of partners here in the U.S. How are you telling that story to your clients?
Yeah, I just went through this the other day, actually explaining to somebody that we could reach out through that network, and I basically just said that we're connected through a very professional alliance that we're really uh, that we're part of, and we have over 80 advisors across the world really, but primarily in the U.S. where we can reach out and use their networks as well. So it just grows exponentially when you are able to do that. And kind of the areas they were interested in, I did reach out to a couple who kind of, it was the Eastern Seaboard that we were looking at. So reached out to a couple in that realm that may have, either know of businesses or keep us in mind as things come up in particular industries they were looking in. And it's just been a great um, source for us to have, and um, not particularly as the pitching it to clients, but in this industry, it can be a little bit, I'll use the word lonely. I don't know if that's the right word, but
I,
for many years, we had looked for something like this where we could kind of piggyback ideas or kind of compare challenges, if you will, or things that to see if, oh geez, how are other firms doing this? And it's just so nice to have a network of firms where you're not really directly competing and you can help each other out, and source information. And it's pretty incredible how open everybody is with how they operate their firms, and how we can learn from one another. And it's just been such a great source for us. And we are kind of wondering why we didn't look into something like this sooner. Um, or wishing we had kind of found it sooner, because we've learned so much by being part of the group.
keep going, keep going.
You like that, do you?
So back to your example of talking to your client about, tell them about the story of Cornerstone International Alliance. I guess what was their what was their response to that? What did they maybe? I mean, obviously, I guess did it pique their interest? Did it be like, was it like intriguing to them, or how did they respond to that?
Yeah, I think it's intriguing. I think, it's funny when we first kind of posted on our LinkedIn and stuff that we were going to be part of Cornerstone, which is 2 or 3 years ago. I think there was some confusion, maybe, that some people thought we were bought out by
Mhm.
a larger M&A advisory firm. And so it was kind of that education piece, because a lot of businesses or organizations have these connectors. If you think of like a construction association, or
Right.
in the car dealership world, there's dealer networks where they can kind of talk to each other. They don't really compete against one another, but they're in the same world. So it's more of an education piece of how we can benefit everybody by being part of this group. And so, but in this particular case, I mean, they thought it was great because it gives them access. Um, a buyer from potentially like Atlantic Canada area that has access now to, um, people that they can trust because we trust them,
Mhm.
who may bring good deals to the table. So it's again, it's all that referral and relationship base that is so big in this industry. And yeah, I think they were really excited about it.
Yeah, you use the term lonely, and the thing that I've come to use and think about it is isolation. Um,
Mm.
because and one of the foundations of which this alliance was built on is, that isolation mindset where we can get so hyper focused on our deals, heads down, like just, on our deals, and there's this whole big network of, M&A professionals out there that have a ton of experience and ton of, expertise, and, to try instead of trying to reinvent the wheel or try to figure out a problem, you leverage someone who's already been through it, and then you'll be able to avoid, making the same mistake. And so I think, for me, just based on what you hear and how I like to say it is, we kind of fix that problem of isolation by connecting you with people, your peers who are doing the same work you are, and you can kind of leverage and learn from each other. So that's I just want to throw that in there. Not that that's necessarily part of the conversation that we're trying to have today, but so I think you guys showcasing the alliance and the opportunities in Canada, I think shows that there's a lot of collaboration opportunities cross borders, right? And I think that might be another reason, why you guys, we have other international members within our group, but from a cross border perspective, what are you guys seeing, as maybe challenges, or that would normally come up, but maybe getting help from your alliance members might be able to fix.
Yeah, I think it's more so just maybe utilizing each other uh, to the best of our abilities to connect our networks. And that's tough because our networks are large. Everybody's got a significant network, and there's only so much time in the day, and everybody's very, very busy. So I think the best thing we can be doing is helping everybody within the alliance close their deals. So if we have buyers or sellers in certain industries, and we know that so and so also has the other side of the deal in their kind of pipeline, then maybe finding a way to make sure we're connecting on that. And I think to some degree we're doing it, and there's always ways we can be improving, and that's really what our alliance is about, is trying to be better all the time, and trying to have be better for our clients, and how can we help each other out, because effectively at the end of the day it's just going to help our clients. So
Right.
I think we're doing it, and I think there's probably room for improvement on that
Yeah.
too. And I know there's certain firms you probably become closer with within the alliance if you kind of see similarities, and
Mhm.
it might be easier to pick up the phone and talk to them a little bit more, and and it could be just proximity of your geography, where your deals are, and that sort of thing. So I think we're doing it, but I think there's always room for improvement.
Well, like anything else, the more you put into it, the more you're gonna get out of it, right? So
Yeah.
if you're willing to collaborate and you're taking the initiative to collaborate, you're gonna develop deeper relationships. You're gonna build that rapport and trust with those people, and you're gonna naturally gravitate towards those firms because you have those relationships. You know, we would I've heard the saying, it's this, things like this, Cornerstone, other alliances, other groups, we hold this wholeheartedly as, we're a gym, not a spa, right?
Mm.
The more you put into your workout, the stronger, the faster you're going to become. Well, the more you put into leveraging the size, the size, the people, the value proposition of this group, the more you're going to benefit, the more your clients are going to benefit. And I think it's amazing, how well that really works. And I've seen it firsthand over the past 4 years here that that is very true, and that is the foundation of what this group has been built around. And I think kind of echoing what you're saying there. Um,
Yeah.
but kind of shifting back to the Canadian market right now. Are you seeing any trends in deal structure that may be different or unique compared to I don't know if what we can consider normal M&A, but maybe pre-COVID, or is anything, or maybe it's the economic state right now, high interest rates, or any trends you seeing out there that are maybe a little different than have been in previous years?
Yeah. I think the only one that really comes top to mind, or maybe two, that given what we talked about here on interest rates, that we've either seen a lot of proposed earnouts, which we don't love. I don't know if any advisor loves earnouts, and I don't think any seller really loves earnouts. But either that, or proposed, say, higher percentage value of vendor holdback, um, just to kind of make up for that difference in the interest rates, and that also kind of keeps the multiple of the business up. So if a seller is really kind of keen to maintain that higher multiple that they might have seen in the last few years, that buyers are willing to do it, but you might have to wait a little bit longer to get your money. So I would say that's probably the bigger trend. I wouldn't even say it's in every transaction, but
Yeah.
I'd say we're seeing it more often.
Mhm. And how do you, I don't know if convince is the right word, but talk your client through that earnout, or other considerations they might have to make in deal structure to get that same multiple that they're hoping for?
Yeah, the biggest thing we find is we try to lay it out all up front before we go to market, and we try to pinpoint where we think this deal could land, what is financeable on it. Sometimes we'll talk to lenders and have them kind of give us kind of a mock term sheet, if you will, and say, if we were financing at this rate, here's where we think we could get to, and this is what we could lend against this business. So that means the either the buyer is coming up with the difference, or the difference is made up between a vendor hold or some type of earnout for the future. So we try to talk through those numbers with our sellers up front, And I think the more that you can educate them up front, the better they feel during the process instead of it being a surprise at the end of the day. There's always going to be some give and take throughout a deal, and but I think the more that you can give your seller up front the heads up on what might be coming their way, the better.
Yeah. No, I think that's great advice. I think that's great advice in general. The more you can be transparent up front, the less headache, the less surprises, the less fallout you'll have down the road.
Yeah.
So I think that's really, really good advice. But even more so now when, more surprises might pop up just based on how deals are and then are being structured nowadays. And so what is 2024, just to wrap up, what you guys in particular, but maybe from a broad, perspective of Canadian M&A, what do you think? Obviously, we're not going to hold this to you because no one has a crystal ball, right? But like high level, what does 2024 look like for M&A in Canada?
Yeah, sure. I think it's going to be busy, and I think we're just kind of hitting the bottom of the mountain for these changes as far as transitions for Canadian businesses. So yeah, we are seeing a strong start to the year, lots of new business coming through the door, or those first exploratory conversations of, I'm thinking about selling my business. What does this process look like? And, our reaction to it is I think we need to add a little bit more bank strength in order to handle some of this. So we're looking to grow our team and build out our team a little bit more and kind of prepare for what's coming as far as we see all these changes going in the market. So I think it's going to be a busy year, and I don't think that's just us. I think we'll see that across the country. And, there's two other cornerstone firms across the country. I'd be shocked if they had different stories. I think they're probably seeing a ramp up as well. And yeah, I think it's going to be an exciting, decade for M&A firms in Canada.
That's awesome. Yeah. So let's get back together on this day next year in 2025. Let's see if you broke 20 deals closed in 2024.
Oh boy.
That's
Yeah,
what I'm hearing.
we got some work to do.
It's going to be a record year.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed, right?
Fingers crossed. That's right. Yeah.
Well, Trisha, amazing conversation. I really appreciate your time today. Thank you for all your insights. It's always great to hear from you and talk with you and hear about your expertise and just learning more about the M&A market in Canada. So appreciate your time joining me today. If anyone wants to learn more about Confederation M&A, work with you, or have questions about what we talked about today, where can people get a hold of you and your firm?
Sure. You can find us on our website. It's confederationgroup.ca. We also have a LinkedIn page at Confederation Group. And on our website, you'll have all our contact details. So yeah, happy to chat to anyone who may have some questions about Canadian M&A.
Awesome. That's all we have for today's episode of the M&A Mastermind podcast. Trisha, thank you again for being my guest here today. I learned a lot. I know our audience will learn a lot as well. Be sure to check out all of our episodes at cornerstoneia.com/podcast. Hopefully you all have taken a couple of takeaways away from Trisha's and my conversation here. And as always, help us both out by liking, sharing, commenting, subscribing, all those fun things that will help get this episode in front of more people. We would be greatly appreciated if you'd help us out with that. Until next time, thank you for listening.